So here's a Kriat Shemah, the Shachris, it says, is the headline. He says, Mizdav game Abba v'Iba l'hamshech mochen nezon, l'tzorch Zivug d'Amida. That's what happens in the morning. So, actually, we were on number hay down below. That's really where we were. We went through, what was the topic? Is a Bizman abayis hoya Zivug d'Ponim b'Ponim b'Zman hazem. It's ach to ach. The question is I think he actually gave us an answer to what is the difference between the two. At least one answer is that you're dealing with the gar. When you talk about panim, it's the whole body. It's the whole being. So let's go to number Lahayav and Neshamas Chadasha. So this is one of the things that happens as a result of the panim. He says, Hine yesh behem bechinas neshamas chadashos v'bechinas neshamas yeshanos. Now this is a whole subject, Mavura b'shar gilgulim hagdama yud beis. So it'd be an interesting place to see that, but because of Hashem and Safsim about this, the neshamas chadashos amuros kan, what are they talking about? Ain't it Hakavanot the neshamas chadashos mamash? No. Came the achar churban, because after the destruction, Ein Yotzes beginning the Shamas Chadashos mamish, that we don't have the Shamas Chadashos. He says, what? After the Churban, we don't have such a conflict. Etc. Akdama Yotches. Rak, he says, Hakavnot, what is the Kavana? Kan, the Neshamas Yeshanos, other Shehim Babos Adach, Be'iba V'Leidim Mamish Chadashos, but they go through the process. And I think I mentioned this before, that he says that this process of Ivor is actually taking place in the Avsag Daat. This is where its origin is. So that the Tipo begins the formation there in the most remote or the most distant or penimistic possible place. It comes new, it goes through the process again. If you put it in relationship, the Zivug the Lilo. So again, we didn't have a definition for that, but I don't know if we got it. He says that this is where the what Sharak Machadesh as an Ishmosenu. Olas Lamala Mischanshel Viordos Chazara, and then they come back down. Now, again, what's the difference? Nikras under Shamas Achem Chadashos, the fish Ahem Baos Ata Mechadish the Oila, because they're coming down into the world. Again, new. L'umas Nishmosein in relationship to our Neshamos. Sharak Mischanshos Ata Nikras Yeshanos, and therefore, since they're only Mischadesh, and again, I don't really know what Mischadesh means, but that's what he says his words are. Now we're going to go back up onto page Kuf Zayin, read across the top a little bit. Kriat Shemah the Shachris Mizdav game Abba v'Iba l'hamshech mochen nezon l'tzorch Zivug. So this is what happens at nighttime. It's as if Abba v'Iba make a yichud, and the purpose of that is to bring mochen nezon for the purpose of the yichud, the amida, and I'm assuming he means the shachris. So therefore, at the time that we're getting close to, I guess, Shemona Esrei, but if we say the Kriat Shemah, and what happens when you do the Kriat Shemah? It causes a yichud in Abba v'Ima. Also a yichud, and from this yichud of this Zivug, he says, Yankilu the Zohar benechem as Samochem v'Chataro Sholachem. So then what happens now? The question is, what does he mean by the Ataros? But as a result of the Yichud of Abba v'Ima, it brings down here the Mochim, and also the Britaro Sholachem, which refers offhand to the 5 Chesanim and the 5 Gevuros, which come from Abba v'Ima, respectively. Kadei Sha'achar Kach B'Shas Tefilas Shemona Esrei, so that after this, at the time when you get to the Shemona, Yizdavgo Gam Heim B'Nechem Zun K'noida. So that's a Kavana over there. Let's see what the Tiv HaKavana says on this. This is number Hey. I'll turn the page back again, I'm sorry. So he says, what's number Hey? He says, B'Tefidas Amida the Chakras, Daat Zivug Zun, L'Holy the Shamas Chadashos Ka'omor. And what happens as a result of that? Neshama chadashos. So, however, we want to understand that. Call more. Amracha be'ein zun yecholon hizdavig kol od ein lechem mochin the godless. But they can't make a yichud unless they get mochin the godless. Now, mochin the godless come from Abba ve'im and long the techilas the techila. Shene'etzal and mezun nemshachin lechem rak mochin the godless. So they'll have the vok. It's only 6 kitzvahs, but here you need the gar once again. So he says, "B'kedei lahamshech lechem es mochin the godless." Na'asa Zivug Abba ve'Ima Kriat Shemah the Shachmah. So there's a yichud that takes place then. Zivug zecha nemshachim mochin the godless the zon, and from this Zivug, then you have an extension of the mochin the godless the zon. So there's 4 different aspects of mochin. Now what are they? More Chachmah bebina anikroim mochin. More chadas kolula mataris chasadim and ve'itra the chasadim ve'itra the gevuros. So they're called itaros. Lefi shehem meluvash v'chataros yisod the Abba ve'im. And why do they call that? So he said because they're at the very bottom end of, that's the itara, the tip of the yisodas of Abba ve'ima. As a mochin the godless yecholdim kavar l'chasdavik. So now that they have all of these 4, they're able to make a yichud b'tefillah shachris, so b'birchasem shalom. So just talk about that. So over here he mentions the concept of the kadshaus, so we're going to see that coming up. He says, what's the number of vav? Number of vav. So, okay, that's the next place there. Kriat Shemah shalamita. So what happens? Kriat Shemah shalamita. Mizdaving Abba ve'ima lahamshech mochen dezon l'tzorach zivug dechatzos. Now this is slightly different. So this same idea. Let's see what I read. This is Kriat Shemah. Both have different times, but one is for a yichud that takes place in the morning, and one is for the yichud that takes place at night. So number vav, he says in light print, we didn't read the up above, so let's go back to that. It refers to the daytime. So he said, so there's also something happening over here at nighttime. And so he says, it has to do, that's what we're talking about, what happened in Chakras. As long as we're talking about it, we'll go to this one. The Hida Bechatzos aligned in the Asa Zivug the Zun, because at midnight there's a yichud that takes place between Zohar and Nog. And for this purpose, it's necessary to preface that the Kriat Shemah first, in order, once again, that's the purpose of it, so that's your kavanah right there, to make a yichud between Abba and Ima. And from therefore, there comes out mochin for zun. So that they could come therefore after that and make a yichud which apparently is very important. Now we had a note down here, so maybe we'll pick it up right now. So on the note, a number vav, it says, 1 second. He says, "Kedei she'achar kach b'shas tefilas and b'shmona esrei yizdavu gam chein b'nechem zun k'noida." Noida, das a Rashash. What does Rashash think? Yishach Zivug and Na'asa b'tefilas shmona esrei the chakras, that yichud that takes place at the shmona esrei of chakras. Hu chazivug de zun prati de oso tefila. So it's the specific zun, particularly of that particular tefillah. So I don't know exactly what he means, because we'll see. So the kolonim, the kad shaus, that's a shad. So he's coming back to this thought again about the kad shaus. Na'asarak la'achar mekan beis tefilas apayim. That only takes place in the tefilas apayim. So that's a fact about it. Trying to really understand the yichud of kad shaus just really to get a simple definition of what it entails. I don't have it quite yet. He says, again, he said that this drush is really speaking about the order of the tikkun that takes place of the tikkun. It's called the tikkun kololim of 24 hours, the kad shah, and he says this is going to be explained in the shefa on number Yud Daled. We're going to see it again. Tzorach lomer the masha kosev kan, and what he's writing over here says Zivugam laholden naasa b'tefila shmona esrei, who lav dafka is not specifically that. Elohuna asa b'tefila sapayim, but it takes place at another time after the Shmona Esrei is over. B'chein kasa b'sefer horosh shah, also v'derech be'aki yu'un masha kasa b'zecha b'shem and sason. He wrote about this. What does he say? Let's look a little bit more closely. He says, so he says, "V'l'shitas hasorvim de milvad zen asa ke'ez gam zivug kli v'rucho b'partzufi Yaakov v'rochel." The Rachel Yaakov v'Leah apratim. So let's just see that he says also those who said we want to say like this, that zen asa ke'ez gam zivug kli v'rucho, which is the building up of the yesod of the nukva, but parts of Yaakov v'Rachel, or the both of them, apratim, which is really the lowest element. V'yesh lomer the kan ma'irich b'chazivug de Yaakov v'Leah. So, but here we're talking about that yichud, the yichud of Yaakov and Leah. V'zivugim zeh ku hakavnot. It's really a preparation, the Zivug de Yaakov v'Rachel, the lamacha that's going to take place. Well, he says in the morning, that is in the morning, the Shachris and Asa b'Sim Shalom, which takes place in Sim Shalom. But we're still missing a good definition of Kadshaos. Let's go to number Zion. We'll read up at top. He said, V'hine, hachasidim rishonim, lo hoyitzrichim rak lomer pasuk rishon Shema Yisrael. They didn't have to go through the whole thing. Keniska v'gemara, the brachos, the sagi l'chuba b'chad besuka derachmi. So just one pasuk was enough. He calls it besuka derachmi. But now we're not in that position anymore. We're in the lower doros. Let it be that we have the kavana to be able to really see all the different parts of that yichud. So that we can ultimately come to the high zivug, which is going to come then. Kedei lachadesh is in the neshamas or yeshanos. So, like we say once again, to renew the neshamas, yeshanos. So let's see a little bit more here. Being on numbers light print on number Zion, and we're right like this. Garsina beGemara. So we learn in the Gemara. Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. V'afal pisha kara adam Kriat Shemah bebasic anas. So you did that. Mitzvah the kroso al mitaso, but that's not enough. You have to actually say Kriat Shemah by your bedside. Amar Rav Nachman im Talmud Chacham hu im tzarach. Amar Rabbi av Talmud Chacham miboyle the meimer chad pesuku derachme. He says at least to say one pasuk. Kagon biadacha. So he says, what is that pasuk? He says this pasuk. He says biadacha afki ruchi b'disol Hashem keil emes ad kan megamora. So let's see what is he talking about exactly. I got a little mixed up there. And b'var v'rav shechadin hu zin ha'zecha the Talmud Chacham sagi l'hu b'me'ibas chad b'suke derachme. So this, in other words, I thought it was just the phrase that we was talking about. He was just talking about the phrase Shema Yisrael itself. But here he's talking about actually this other idea. What is this Pesukah the Rachmi? Ne'ema rak lechasidim rishonim shechoy koich kedushasim gadol v'koich amiras pasuk rishon belvad kvar garmach zivugam al yonim. It already causes that. Now this makes me think that he's talking about the phrase Shema Yisrael. L'tzrichim afhem lomer as called Seder Kriat Shemah Shalamita, the lefi miut arkenu, Halavai nuchol afilo al yedecha b'chamiras kol seder Kriat Shemah ligrom zivugam al yonim shebekoch shebekochem yischadshu nishposeinu. Back to the idea of renewing our neshamos. So let's see. Let me see where the next stop is. Here it's well, it's going to go on a little bit. So I'm going to do one more, and then we'll go over to the SIFRA that's Niuta. So the first thing is we just say all the Seder of Kriat Shemah. So as we said before, we have definition for that. The Benechem Zun, to their children who are Zun, Kadei Shagam Hem Yuchul Achar Kach Achar Chatzos Laila Zivug Chidush and Neshamas Kanizka. So maybe this is what he's talking about. That is where the Neshamas all go up in my Nukvin. As a result of that, they get new Shefa. So the Shefa, he wanted to talk about a difference between whether or not it's a neshama, it's actually a neshama chadasha, which would take place, I guess, at the panim b'panim, versus what comes now is a yichud ach ba'ach, and here is for the purpose of really mechadesh neshamos. So let's see if we can pick up something here on number ches, and it says. Ayidecha b'miras Kriat Shemah kodem mishenu. Naasa Zivug the Abba ve'imach u'mezivug zecha nimshachem ataras azchadim v'gevuras the Daat, etc. v'hamolchem, which is Chachmah Bina the Zun. V'kochem yuchul Zun, and from this, the strength of this, yuchul Zun his daveg b'chatzos alayla, they can make a yichud at midnight. V'ayidecha b'zivugim, so then what happens from that zivug is a yischadshach on the shvasenu she'olu l'sham b'sod man that went up in the sod man. Let's stop here because it goes on, and there's also some shefa, but I want to look at the SIFRA Tzniuta also, and we have less time than I thought. Okay, so today is the 12th of Sivan. Okay, let me see if I can find where's the book. All right, here we go. So actually, we finished the last piece we were on. So, here we go right now. Actually, I don't know this word kotaf. When he's talking about kifu de kitfim, he says this is the quote from the SIFRA Tzniuta. Barucha tzrira the meskalem Yaakov, the maskalem Yaakov. So he says a rucha, there's a bound rucha here, whatever, bekitfu dekitfu, we're going to find out in a minute. He says the maskalem, it goes into the maskal of the counts of the balance scale. The balance scale is actually Chachmah, Bina, and Das. Das is really the balancer. Yudi law, and then he says this, Yudi law, this ata bekitra, which is crowned in, I guess I'm thinking of binding, the ratika, or is bound by itra, but he says not kitra, itra, should be itra, the crown of batika. He karuma ilod is dakek. This refers to this crust. What does that mean exactly? The izdakek v'sasim, it becomes tremendously refined and sealed. The hey ilod, then you have the upper hay. This aser, this atach berucha, the nukvin de bardashka. So back to the nukvin de bardashka again. He says ve'etata berucha becomes crowned with a ruach that is coming for the bardashka of Erich Anpin. The nafia, what does it do? The nafek la'achayach bevavi law butzina the gardenusa. So all of this has to be really understood. He says that what does the rucha that comes out of the nukvin de bardashka? So he brings life force to the letter of vav. The vav is what it said, the interface. So he says boots into the cardenusa, which he also says is the boots into the cardenusa, the hisatara besitroi, that becomes crowned, besitroi, beitroi. Here he says, once again, he says the word should be itroi, with its crowns. Exactly how that translates. So go take a look. So to begin with, let's look down here at this blurb. Za'acha shabir la'el, that we explained up above, Inyan os yud vav dalad yud el yonah, shuhu ba'erik Anpin, Gumo kain bir la'el, also explained up there in Sif test, so we're now on number yud. Inyan os hey el yonah, so the inyan of the upper hey, shuhu ba'erik Anpin, which refers to Erich Anpin. So he says, how is this? Where are these letters in Erich Anpin? What does it mean? What are the lights that shine from them? What are these lights? He says they're actually three letters, and three letters, Yud, Kei, and Vav. Beside Chachmah, Bina, Das, which goes in Kesser. Now we have a note on this, so we can take a look at that if we have time. He said, Os Yud, the Os Yud really refers to an area which covers over the Mochas Timor, which is called the Kuma de Avira, which Avira letting you know that it's very, very transparent. It's almost non-existent in a way that we can understand. He said, what is kitter? Another word for that, avira. That comes out of the Chachmah Kesser. Now, previously, we were talking about the Bina that came from Kesser because we were focused on the letter Hey. Here, we're talking about the Chachmah that comes out of Kesser. He said, so the letter Hey, of course, in the Ruach that comes out of the Chotem, which comes from that. Now the Oz Vav B'Shishas Kitzvos the Guf, Erich Anpin, Shemisata B'Shisha Kitzvos the Das, which crowns the six corners of the Vok of Das, of the Das that's in Kesser, Anikra Butzina de Cardenusa. So he says, what's the definition of the Butzina de Cardenusa? He says that's the Das that's in Kesser. Now, this is all a little bit hard for me, so let's see, we have a few minutes. Let's look at number Aleph and see if we can get some background on this. Ki shorsha ma'elyon hu chachmah b'bina das. So let's say that. What was his phrase? His phrase was, Chachmah b'bina das k'mavur. He said, let's explain it. The Erich Anpin, it's the Chabad of Erich Anpin. Ray b'cha'aras l'chalom b'shem the Shaar my Mari Rashbi. The nukva de pardashka shekasa the hedger sheyotze bebina shebekasser, that we said previously. The gomol okamo kain is boyer ba'aras l'halon. So later on, when we get to the aras after that, it's going to be explained. Al pi hashar mamari Rashbi, the Oz Yud the Kuma Avira. So this has got me a little bit confused because I know the Kuma the Avira is in a very high place, or very penimistic a place. And he says, the Oz Yud, the Kuma of the Avira, Shor Shecha B'Chachmah Shebekasser. So where does the letter Yud come from? It comes out of the Chachmah that's in Kasser. Val Derek Zecha B'Yesh the Vira the Oz Vav the Butzina the Cardenusa. So there's a Vav in this combo, right? Which he says goes along with the Butzina the Cardenusa. Shor Shecha B'Das Shebekasser. Where does that come from? That comes to the Shorsh and the Das in Kasser. So we have now the nukva. Excuse me, I was going to say the nostrils and the ruach that's coming out of it is referred to the hay. The yud, which is apparently a higher level, this coming out of the Chachmah. So one comes from Bina, one comes from Chachmah. Now we want to talk about the letter Vav. This is coming from the Das, which is triangulating between the two. Ki kach hu seder ha'osius Yaakov b'kol makom. Any place that you see this, that's what it means. Rabbi ha'aras l'chalon is going to have this borrowed P emes the Yaakov. You said the Das tachton hamispasha b'sheish kitzvah sheish kitzvah. So this lower Das, which is going into the goof of Erich Anpin, so to speak, the Erich Anpin. V'shar shecha beis kasvim, and where is it roots? Now, its root. He said this is a little hard here. He says v'shar Bein Beis Kasvin de Erich Anpin Ein Shom. So how is it that, I guess that he means what? He says the shorish, I'm going to put my word in it, extends down to that place. Because we were talking about the Rosh before, I thought, which is where the Chabad is located. Now he says that his root is in the shoulders. B'sheish Kitzvos de Erich Anpin, and this, I guess, is the beginning of the Vok of Erich Anpin. B'shar shebein Beis Kasvin, that what we said, the Erich Anpin. V'chein Rei B'or Yaakov, he looks over there, v'yisecha b'hinech of Osius Yaakov, heim b'keser sod Erich Anpin, they're the keser. Keser is another concept, let's say Erich Anpin. Miusadim al sod, and they're all founded, al sod Chachmah Bina Das, u'mushrashim b'keser, which are also rooted in keser, elyon, ad kan. Now, so, you're working with the idea that he said that it has to do with the shoulders. So the root of it is at the shoulders. But maybe he means the root of Das is accessible there. I'm not sure exactly how to work. V'chein Reba Bebera Gra, what the Gra say? Shabir Khan explains like this, the Fidarko, V'zel the Shon of Adilab, because V'chein Chein B'mochen Dezer Anpin, you have the same thing in the Mochen Dezer Anpin, Kamosha Amber B'sifra Tzniuta, Lamata down below, Klas Chalalim da Asvon. There are three cavities of letters, which are the letters Yakvud Rishiming. So they're, I guess, stamped there. V'chein hu kan b'atika kadisha. So the same thing we're talking about Zer Anpin. We the same thing in Erich Anpin. Kruma de Chavira hu Chachmah. Now, okay, so this seems a little steerer to me from some other things. So he says the Kruma de Chavira is Chachmah. Why? Because I'm thinking that Chachmah is the Mochas Timah, and the Rucha de Avira covers over the Ruchas Timah. So that's why I thought but here he says, V'chein hu kan ba'atika kadisha, it's an atika kadisha, Erich Anpin, Kruma de Avira hu Chachmah de atika kadisha. V'chein Sham Yud Elah. So therefore, that's where you find the Yud Elah. I think it's Sham. Bina de Atika Kadisha, that's also the Bina of Atika Kadisha. You find that too. I guess you find both of them there. So he's got a lot of not finished sentences there exactly, but I guess he said the point he wanted to say. Hu Hei Elah, he says this is the Hei Elah, boots into the Kardanisa, Hu Da. So I think Hu Hei Elah, he says Bina is the Hei Elah, Metzina de Kardanusa Kuda. So the Kardanusa, this boots into the torch of the Kardanusa, which is Din, I think, is coming into Das, is Das. V'lechein ku vav iloh. So therefore, that's the other vav. V'hei yud ke vav iloin shebechatika kadisha. So we have 2 minutes. So let's see, there was another number bet down here. And the number bet went on the phrase, he said, B'shisha kitzvos the guf de Erich Anpin, Shemis'ater B'shisha kitzvos the das shebekeser hanikra butzina the kardanusa. So about that. So we have a little bit, I don't know if we get through it. Let's see what we can see. We can at least start it. It says, they're going to get into a ba'arech nimsa sheyesh kan gimel dargos v'heim gimel b'kinu shorish anaf umakom. So what is this? Well, he said there are 3 different aspects. One is a root, one is a branch, and one is what? The place where they lie? I'm not sure. Ki chabad shebekeser heim shroshim umehem mispashtim anafim shehem kitter, which is this word kitter. Kitter could be like smoke, but so let's see what he said. The muchas nimor, which is smoke, some kind of vapor or something that comes out of the muchas nimor of a ruach hachotim, v'ruach hachotim, which comes out of the ruach of the chotim. V'dasam is pashet. So let me read it again. V'mechem is pashet anafim shehem kitter, the muchas nimor v'ruach hachotim. The das and mispashet of the das which spreads. A little bit vague there. Vehem meirim ma'atrim es osius Yaakov. So they come, these, what is it? Is this Yaakov, this Shorish, comes and rests on the, and crowns the letters, which are Yaakov. Shehem b'makomos, the lawn, which are in special places up above, as we're going to see later on. Kruma, the komos is in this place called the kruma of the avira. So he's focusing in a very, very deep place to understand the origins of this. Is in the kruma dimon nikve. So then he says nikve hotem. Then you have nikve hotem. Shesh kitzvos the guf Erich Anpin. The hainu os yud. Sharsho b'chochmah shebekesef. So let's straighten this out a little bit. Its root is there. Shemispasha b'mena b'chinas anav shehu kitter ha'ara. Well, let's say kitter, which I said means smoke. Let's say it means here, it means a radiance that's coming from it. Hayotzim b'mochas dimor, which comes from the mochas dimor. A meir b'makom oz yud shebekruma de avira, and it shines into the letter yud, which is in the kruma de avira. Now, I'm having a little trouble with this because my understanding. He says that I understand that the avira covers over the kruma, the kruma covers over the mochas dimor. His words are, he says shebekeser shemispasha b'mena b'chinas anaf, which is a branch, shuhu kitter, which is, he says another word for kitter is ha'ara hayotze b'mochas dimor. So coming out from what's inside of it is the mochas dimor. A meir b'makom os yud, and it shines into the place where the letter yud could be located. Shebekruma the vira. There, so he wants to say like this: there's a light. The kruma de vira covers over the mochas dimor, so it's a higher level, really. But he says that when it shines, he says the mochas dimor shines. Umeir b'makom os yud shebekruma de vira, so it shines into that place, which is a more panimistic place. That's where I understand it. So it doesn't sound like that. V'chein os hey shar shecha bebina shebekeser shemispashet b'mena b'chinas anaf. There comes a branch out of that. What's the anaf that comes out of this Chachmah, this Bina shebekeser? It comes out of an anaf shehu ruach nimshach b'chaitim, which is this ruach de pardashka. Meir b'makom os hey shebenekev hachoitim. So it shines into the letter hey, which is really represented by the nostril. V'chein os vos sharshu b'dash b'keser. We have this concept also. Umeir b'makom os vav shebeshesh kitzvos the guf Erich Anpin. Okay, so I guess we're out of time. So maybe we'll look at that again. It's a little bit vague, but we'll pick it up and try to put it in its right place as we go along.